I am joined today from one end of Ontario to the other with also she's a twin, which is amazing. It's one of the first things that connected us because I'm a twin mom, she's a twin. We just have all the twin connections going on. Wonderful entrepreneur, also a teacher turned business owner. I feel like I am just constantly attracting all of the teachers who have decided to pivot into a new business. Brianna to the podcast today, and we're going to talk about everyone's most sensitive, least favorite topic, which is money. So, welcome to the show. We are huge fans of pivots in this space. So, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your pivot from teacher to what you do now, working with mortgages, working with money, and kind of this whole huge shift in your life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here. And I will say that money is not my least favorite thing to talk about. It used to be, but now I'm absolutely obsessed with talking about money and finding out what people really think about money because I'm curious and nosy and I want all the tea. So that's me. But before I was doing this, I was a teacher. I was a French immersion elementary teacher for about 10 years in Southern Ontario. And it was not what I dreamed of doing. It was something that I kind of fell into because I am very gratefully bilingual. And I got hired out of university. So I started teaching these kids, and it's such a great thing to fall in love with and easy to fall in love with. But then I had a family and things stopped working the way they used to, and I couldn't extend myself the way I used to, and I couldn't take on what I used to be able to do, and the expectations were still there, and my mental health very quickly unraveled. So that was what I had my first daughter in 2017, and then 2019 I had my second daughter and was still on mat leave when COVID hit, and I actually went back to work early. I was I can't sit still for very long, so mat leave was kind of rough on me. Went back to work early, started teaching online because I could while my kids were home, and learned just so much. Once I learned all these things, how to teach online, how to like Google Slides, changed my life. And, I learned on the fly YouTube University, and I started to realize, "Oh my gosh, I really have the capacity to do whatever I want." And then my family made a move to Muskoka, Ontario, and I did a short teaching contract, part-time contract, because of course I lost my seniority, and I realized I'm doing just as much work as I was when I was full-time. And I'm married to an accountant who is self-employed, and I was seeing him walk downstairs to his, basement office where I'm sitting now in his sweatpants and making great money. I thought, "Well, damn, I can do that."
You're like, wait a second, this is a scam.
Yeah. Yes, exactly, and he works with a ton of self-employed folks. So, yeah, actually, teaching is a bit of a scam because I'm seeing what they're paying on taxes, what I'm paying on taxes, and who I'm paying on my pay stubs, and it just made a lot of sense. We also had a less than stellar mortgage experience, and working with small business owners, my husband wanted somebody to refer to. And I said, "I'm the most dependable person I know, so I'm going to be your referral partner." I got licensed, and yeah, the rest is history. That was in 2022. That summer, I started my mortgage business.
Amazing. Honestly, I feel like it just fell into place so naturally, and once you had kind of decided that huge leap, like, let's not pretend that deciding to quit your permanent teaching job is something that we take lightly. It's so scary, you get so much judgment from everyone around you because it's one of those things, especially as a French teacher, that it's just not done. You don't quit your permanent contract, especially when there's so many English teachers who are fighting for the full-time permanent roles, all of this, it's just not done. And when you've been comparing yourself to people that have been on the list for years and years and years and years, and I was the exact same as you, like permanent contract right away, it's almost like this guilt to stay in it. So it is scary to do something else. So I had the exact same experience as you. And I think it takes us longer to be like, "Okay, I actually don't have to keep doing this job that I was trained for, that I set up for," because when you go to school and you learn a specific thing and you go into that, it's like, this is the path, and that's what you do. So it's really hard to stray off the path, but when you do, it's so much better. So I think it's amazing that you took that leap and just decided to go for it. Why don't you tell us more about kind of that experience that you had that was less than stellar and how now you do something that's so opposite to it. Because I can totally relate to that as someone who had to use my business to qualify for the mortgage on our new house. It was better that because I was incorporated, but before that, it
Mhm.
was like they literally didn't even care that I made $70,000 in my business. They were like, "We don't care about that. You're nothing. Like this, there's no guarantee. There is nothing at all." And I think that all of those external forces have so much impact on how we see ourselves and how we see our money as small business owners.
And so prior to, well, before I got into teaching, like my mom wanted to be a teacher her whole life and became a social worker. So she said, teaching is it is it. This is what you should do. And everybody told me that teaching was like my golden ticket with this shiny pension,
Mm.
which I took out because
Ah!
I like control. But really the one word that I use so often, and I know it's cliche, but is alignment. And I
Mm,
was in that classroom doing the hardest work I've ever done post COVID, with these young kiddos who had no control. I had no control. Even my admin at that time had no control.
mhm,
And for somebody who suffers from anxiety and depression, that is debilitating, not
mhm.
knowing what to expect. I mean, I chose the mortgage world. No, you never know what to expect, but I can operate within the parameters that are comfortable to me. And I think I had a lot more trust in myself than other folks had in me because I know that I will hustle until I get it done. It doesn't matter what it
Mhm.
is. And I had also been through pandemic teaching and French teaching. And if there's any French teachers who are listening, you know that it's very different than first language teaching because the resources don't exist. You're creating
Mhm.
things on the fly. And when I was teaching, because of my two consecutive maternity leaves, and because I was the youngest staff member on staff, I never taught the same grade 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And the stress was just, it was too much.
I think
So
also being a French teacher, it primes you to be a business owner because you've already dealt with so much imposter syndrome. So that when you become a business owner, you're like, "Oh, I already know this feeling of, am I good enough? Am I a fraud?" Because 'Cause you've dealt with it the entire time you were trying to teach in your second language.
exactly. And I mean, I just did not feel aligned with the career choice.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I was just doing more and not finding it fulfilling. So yeah, it was a great pivot for me. But then yeah, still experienced imposter syndrome in my new role. And that was one thing that really shocked me because I thought that would go away. I thought I would
Mm.
choose something that fit my lifestyle and it would be easy. The last 2 years have not been easy. They've been worth it, but they
Yeah,
have not been easy, and I think I kinda walked into it with rose-colored glasses, but
yeah.
we're here.
Did you w but when you were thinking about, "Okay, I need to do something other than teaching," was it always gonna be something with money? Have you always been interested in money, or was it because of your husband kinda bringing up, "This is what I'm looking for," that you were like, "Wait, I could totally do this?"
It's so funny because no, it wasn't always money. It was never money. I was an English major in university with a deep dive in gender studies. It was not money was not my thing. Very much not my thing. I wanted anything. I
Mm.
just wanted out of teaching. So actually, I was listening to a podcast. What was it called? The teacher something about teacher career transitions. And she's amazing. I'll send you the link afterwards so you can put it in the show notes. But she was talking about software as a service, so sales. And she directed me to this program where you can learn how to sell SaaS, so SaaS sales. You can learn SaaS sales for free. And then at the end, there's an interview, and you may be able to obtain employment through one of these companies. And it's a commission role. Now, I was a waitress all my life, as well as a bartender, and I loved it. So I was like, sales? I can do sales. And also, I totally forgot about this when I was like leading up thinking of my experience, but I was also one of those people who did demonstrations in the grocery store. That was a part-time job that I had.
Oh!
Yeah,
So
it
you're
was ca
used to, like, being in front of people and talking about product and service and whatever.
exactly, and then in teaching, I found myself always, doing tasks that involved presenting. I would go to the board office and present things, do
Mhm.
projects that involve me being in front of people. So really comfortable with that. And then I started listening to podcasts and I realized that mortgages was a very low barrier to entry. It was about $1,000 to get licensed. It took me, they say it takes about 6 weeks. It took me a week and a half to do the course because I was just like wanting to, I did it on March break. I did, yeah, it was ridiculous. My husband thought I was crazy. But
Like, tell
then,
me you're an overachiever without telling me you're an overachiever.
yeah, you know what it's like. So, that's it really, it was a low barrier to entry that got me into mortgages, but then once I got into it, I found it had what teaching was lacking, but also what I
Mm.
loved about teaching. I had the opportunity to meet with folks, to make an impact, but it was adults, which I feel like I am more suited to. And in other ways, it's completely different, right?
That is so serendipitous, though. I agree, the word alignment, sometimes I'm like, "Ugh, I don't like using it," but often there's no other word that is accurate than alignment and feeling like, okay, in some way or another, no matter what level of woo you identify with, like, this was meant to be, and yeah, you fell into it, but then when you did take that leap, there was something about it that pulled you in, and now you are totally happy and totally aligned, and you can see so many different paths, and you have gotten so many amazing opportunities to really diversify
Mm.
yourself in business. So, at the end of the day, when you're working with mortgages, how does money and money mindset with your clients come in on a day-to-day basis?
It's so funny. I was having this conversation with my husband. It's actually World Suicide Prevention Day today. And I was talking about mental health and how money issues are often not the issue. It's a
Mm,
symptom of something else going on. So a lot of what I deal with my clients is getting to the root of the issue because in mortgages, yes, I do deal with purchases, home purchases, but while the market was really depressed, the real estate market, I was doing a lot of refinances. So I was
mm,
helping homeowners consolidate their high interest debt and put it into their mortgage so they'd have more cash flow. Huge issue from 2023, and it will continue to be a huge issue as inflation continues, right? So I was dealing with a bunch of people who were drowning in debt, really, and trying to help them see a way out. Now, I even on my podcast, I talk a lot about contacting experts and how they are there to help you, and
mhm.
it is actually very scary to talk to an expert, and I try to honor that with my clients because it is very scary. You talked about your experience with the mortgage broker or maybe the bank, whoever you went to, and when somebody says something about your money, it feels like they're saying something about your heart, about your character, about your ability to earn. Like, it's so wrapped up,
Yeah,
and I
it's that, like, "You're not good enough to be here," like, "Your money's no good here" vibe.
exactly. And I mean, we've all dealt with mean girls, and I didn't want to enter the industry being the mean girl. I wanted to enter the industry being the understanding girl and the one with solutions. And that's kind of where we are now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's so tricky when everyone has, some level of debt or has had some level of debt in their life, and there's so much shame that comes along with it. So even asking for help to the point of, okay, well, I want to, go all in on my small business, but I also know that we need to refinance our house next year or we need to sign up for our mortgage. So like can I even do that, or is that financially irresponsible because then we won't qualify if we don't have 2 T4s or whatever it is. There's so much stress and pressure for people to have all of the answers because they're too scared to ask for help and to get that information because there is that shame and there is that embarrassment. So do you find that a lot of people, when they come into these conversations with you, they are embarrassed or they're carrying shame with them where they are either, like, downplaying things or hiding things or worried about what you're gonna say.
Yes. Yes, 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 very much to all of that. I try to procure like a welcoming space, and clients often don't tell me the full truth. And I understand
Mm,
that. And I allow that at first because it is what it is. Like it's not about the money at the end of the day. It's not about me. It's not
mhm.
about my professionalism and it's not about my feelings, right? It's about getting a solution for the person who has come to see me for help. So yes, I do run into a lot of that. Ultimately, when I pull someone's credit bureau, It's all there, right? Um, and then we work through it, and it's important that you're honest with your financial professionals, and it's important to honor the fact that it can be uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, I always tell people, like, say it. It's
Mhm,
okay. And that might change maybe the approach that the professional is taking with you as well. Yeah, so I just try to be cognizant of the fact that people are people, and money is just a symptom of whatever's going on in their life. And also because I work with so many small business owners, that what is on a piece of paper is not necessarily the full story. So when somebody comes to see me, I ask a million and one questions. And sometimes I get pushback and I say, listen, I need to know the whole story so I can tell that story to the lender. Really, my
mhm,
job is to advocate for my clients and to advocate for the lender and make sure that it's a good fit. But if I don't have the full story, so for example, if somebody gets into credit card trouble, they have high interest credit card debt, and then very quickly your credit score starts to drop. But if you have that credit card debt because you were on a leave from work and your child was in the hospital undergoing cancer treatments and you're driving back and forth, and you may be reimbursed for some of that, but that comes later and you've already missed payments. And this is a story that we can all understand. And people
mhm.
have feelings and people work with common sense. So if I know that whole story, then I can help you. Right. So things like that, yeah, a lack of money or a surplus of debt, that is often just a symptom of what's going on, and I have to get to the bottom of it.
Totally. When you are thinking about, as a small business owner, if you are applying for a mortgage, let's say, what are the kind of things that you need to have in order to make it be so that you, as the advocate, can go to the lender and be like, listen, it's going to be okay because of X, Y, and Z. Because obviously, when I went in as a small business owner, sole proprietor versus being incorporated, it was a completely different experience. But I know that not everyone is ready to incorporate. So if you are still in that sole proprietor phase, maybe you are working part-time, full-time, and you have like a side hustle, quote unquote, that you can use to supplement your income and maybe qualify for a higher mortgage. Or maybe you want to transition, or maybe you fully have and you're feeling like you can't even bother to apply for a mortgage. What are the things that people can start to think about getting together in terms of documentation and all of that to help them with that process?
That is such a great question because I often see the person with a side hustle who has a
Mm,
profitable side hustle, but because it's not been set up or they don't have the correct puzzle pieces, we can't use that income, which it sucks. Like if you're making 50K on the side on top of your 70K a year job, like that is a huge amount of purchasing power, especially today, right? When
yeah.
real estate is so expensive. So I always tell small business owners, and whether they're incorporated sole proprietor, you need to have a separate business account. If we are going to use bank statements to show the lender what's going in and out of your business, we can't also be having LCBO and e-transfers from mom occasionally and all these things. We need to see income and we need to see what's going out. So first things first, get a separate business account and do not put your spouse's name on it. I say this for two
Ooh.
reasons. One, because it is much more difficult to qualify that as a business account if the spouse's name is on it. Second is just as a woman, I always tell my clients to protect themselves, to have something separate, especially if it's your business. You don't ever want that to be liable in any
Mhm.
situation, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is you want to
Can I
have your
ask a
business.
can I clarify? When you're saying business account, I know when you log in to, like, create a new bank account, whatever, there are separate business banking account, plans and profiles and all of that versus just starting up another, let's say, like, free checking account somewhere and calling it your business account. Is there a difference logistically, legally, back-end accounting-wise?
You got that's such a great question. I can't speak to the accounting mumbo jumbo. That's my husband's job. But for mortgage qualification, it doesn't have to be a business suite account. It just
Mm,
needs to be completely separate. It can't be like the savings attached to your checking. It needs to be separate. And I would suggest that it's with a different bank. You want to diversify. You always want to have bank accounts at different banks. I always suggest you don't have your mortgage at the same bank as your main bank account. People think that, oh, well, I mean, I have all my banking there and they're going to give me a better rate. That's wrong. It's just not correct. And to protect yourself legally, whether you're incorporated or a sole proprietor, it's wise to have a separate banking account at a different institution. If you're going to choose a big five bank, fine. But yeah, have it separate.
And I
So
think having a separate credit card as well, like, yes, the bank account, but all of your business expenses, so much of that is gonna be transactions that are happening through a credit card, and that should be separate as well. Just from, like, a bookkeeping perspective alone, having everything separate is going to keep yourself, like, free from so many headaches, whether you're applying for a mortgage or not.
exactly. And then if your business is audited, you can protect some of your personal,
Mhm.
right? And yeah, you just want that separation. It's always good to have that separation. The other thing that you're going to want to have is a great filing system because if you are self employed or claiming self employed income, I'm going to need everything. Like, I'm going to need
Mm.
your business license. I'm going to need your articles of incorporation if that's applicable. I'm going to need your T1 generals if that's applicable, all of your tax slips and of course, those ever important bank statements if you are a young business or if you are claiming a lot less than actually is coming in. So that's something that business owners often run into is they are writing things off, which is great at tax time, but then at mortgage qualification time, it doesn't work, right? Because you're not claiming
Right.
the income. So I always say you have to pay somewhere, either the tax man or the interest man. But in this case, if you are self employed and you have unique finances, you want to have a 20% down payment. And I know that's hard to hear for some people, but a 20% down payment will give you access to so many more products that can make home ownership happen. And if you are already a homeowner and you're looking to transact again, well, lucky for you, you likely have 20% equity in your home. So you do have access to those things. But I will caution folks that walking into a branch will not give you access to specialty self employed mortgage solutions. You do have to go to a mortgage agent or a mortgage broker, and you want somebody in your province. And that way you can, even if you don't end up working with that mortgage agent or broker, you just can walk into a situation where there are options rather than just
Mm.
no. Because
Yeah.
if any small business owner has gone or young, I say young business owner, like if your business is young, you walk into the bank, it's an immediate no.
Yeah.
And that mentally, home buying right in 2024 is just as much a mental game as it is a fiscal game. So
Absolutely.
you want to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, I feel that for sure, and I think that it's like we talked about at the top of the episode, there are so many things that are going to so quickly just deflate your confidence about any money coming in and out of your business, right? Like, you can spend so long getting what you feel like is all your ducks in a row, and you've got your Google Drive, and you've got all your bank statements ready, and you've been using your, like, free Tangerine account for all your money and all this stuff, and you log into whatever platform you're using, Etsy stand, and you see this beautiful number, and then you go to a meeting and you're like, "Da, da, 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 look how much of a successful business owner I am," and you feel so good. For them, someone at one of those big five banks to be like, "No, sorry, can't use this." And then instantly you're like, you don't even hear what they say for the rest of the meeting because you're instantly just like, well, this is all for nothing. The whole reason I started my business was to help my family and was to create more income and to create better opportunities. And then to just have that completely shut down is so, so brutal. What do you think and what do you say to people who are just surrounding themselves with maybe these negative experiences and now they have so much fear and resentment and like shame around the money that they are making and that fear of spending money because they need to be hoarding it as much as they can so that they can prove that income, and there's such a fine balance of you need to be running a profitable and lean business, of course, but at the end of the day there are some expenses that are really just not worth it to cut in the long run. Like you had mentioned, a lot of people listening right now might not have even registered their business. But if you don't have a registered business, can they use any of that income in a mortgage application setting or anything like that?
This is my most common answer. It depends.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You want your business set up well because you want the access to the best rates and the best products, most flexible products. The more, the better that your ducks are in a row, the more access you're going to have to those things. So, yeah, register your business, do it. And also, that to me seems like something you're legitimizing yourself. Like, go in on yourself. And from somebody
Totally.
who did not do that at first, I oh my gosh, I had such a scarcity mindset when I first began. I didn't want to invest. I didn't want
Mhm,
to build a website. I didn't want so many things. And then about a year later, I started to see this influx of clients because I was going out and networking a lot. And I am really good at selling myself in person and not selling myself, but connecting.
mm,
And I had this influx of clients, so I was finally making some money, and I thought, "You know what? I can do this online too. Like, why am I not doing this online?" So I started branding myself. I got brand photos. I really put some time and effort and money into
mhm.
learning how to show up online, and it has afforded me the greatest opportunities that I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know to dream for them. So and honestly, the thing that spurred that were my brand photos. It just made me feel legitimate. And so I think that putting money into your business is really counting on its longevity. Because if you're not putting money into your business, it's not gonna go. It's like a car with no gas. Yeah, you could have the best systems and processes. You could have the greatest service, but if you are not spending money on getting your business out there, and especially in my industry, it's like advertising, it's airspace, it's you need to be known.
And also
And
credibility, like,
yeah.
especially when you're working with other business owners and you are, an advocate and you're working between big businesses who are lending out huge amounts of money. So obviously that is a very professional world, and that bridge in between, you want to create some credibility, you want to create some trust. How can you do that if you're not presenting yourself with that belief in yourself, that trust in yourself? If you are too scrappy to purchase your own domain and everything is some like weird domain, or you're just doing iPhone photos, at a certain point, people are going to question, why is she doing this? If she is as good as she says she is, why doesn't she believe it? Why isn't she doing it? And all of these things are going to lend themselves to your business growth. And I mean, I know we started talking about mortgages, but all of this is going to help you in the big picture of everything, because it's so much easier to show up to a lender appointment or to show up to a bank or to try and be making big purchases or investments or getting a small business loan, whatever it is, when not only you actually have the appearance of an established and trusted business, but also the attitude and the confidence that comes along with that. And it's so funny you said that about the brand photos. That was the exact same experience for me. It was the first thing that I had invested in that was really forward facing, because so many of the things that we're investing in are behind the scenes things, like
Yeah.
you buy your domain, $17 feels huge. You register your business, $75, you're like panicking. You get Flowdesk, $50 a month. All of these things are expenses, but no one's really seeing them. And then you get brand photos, and all of a sudden you splash them around on your website, and they're on your social media, and they're your profile photo, and you cannot help but be taken more seriously. You cannot help but feel more serious about yourself. And I'm sure for you, when you're having conversations with small business owners, you can tell right away the people who are coming in with confidence about their business and with the experience of, maybe less so about like, well, I've made $100,000 in the last year, and more the belief in their business and the systems and knowing their business in and out in numbers, than the people who come in and they're like, well, just something I do on the side, and no, like
Yeah,
downplaying
and
it.
actually, that is quite gendered in my world.
Oh,
Men show up, "Okay, this is the goal, what can we do?" Women show up, "Okay, this is what I have, what can we do?"
yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, like, "What can I qualify for?" And men are like, "Okay, I want this $700,000 home, make it happen, what do I need to do?" It's so different, Mariah, and it's so annoying because I'm looking at these women who some of whom I've admired and I've watched, and Joe Blow over there has a lot more confidence and self-worth than you, and I don't know why, and it really bothers me. But here we are, right? Yeah, so people do show up with their baggage, and sometimes it's to their detriment. But I also
Mm,
wanted to say, something to the point of showing up professionally. And I think you'd agree with me here that showing up professionally does not mean showing up like everybody else. And I mean, toot my own horn here. I don't show up like everybody else in my industry. I'm well spoken, I'm intelligent, I know my stuff, but but it's friendly and it's fun and it's not a
Yeah.
blue blazer and a power suit and a white background. I can't.
Yeah, we
I
got,
just
like,
can't.
purples going on, like yeah, I know, I'm with you, I'm the same, and I went through a phase for sure where I was, "Okay, I need to be doing, like, black and white photos or, like, a dark black fade on everything, neon writing, like, bright yellow," because that's what I thought to be a high level coach, that was the professional look, that was the branded look that I had to go for to be taken seriously, to take myself seriously, and it felt so fake and so forced. So when I decided, "Okay, I'm actually not gonna just try and be something else, I'm just gonna go all in on loving pink and ducks," that's when everything changed, and yeah, showing up professional is not about using the colors that you're using or the quality of your photos. It's the messaging that you're using and the confidence that you're speaking about yourself and the way that you're talking to potential clients. I know especially when you're starting out, there's a lot of service swaps that happen. And there's a
Mhm.
lot of instead of exchanging money, you're exchanging services with people. And they're doing, brand photos for you and you're doing coaching for them or you're consulting for them or whatever it is, but things like that are also gonna be holding you back, and that all comes from a fear place too, where you're like, "Well, this person's not gonna pay for my services or pay for my products, so we can exchange it." But that is not helping your books, that's not helping your earnings, that's not helping you when you are looking at your business on paper and you're trying to get a mortgage or you're trying to qualify for different grants or whatever it is. So
Mhm.
it's better even if you're exchanging the exact same amount of money, it is better to actually exchange the money and have it coming in and out and to start feeling more and more comfortable with money moving in and out of your business.
Love that. Even if it's just the same amount of money, because then you're getting used to to exercising the muscle. And I talk about this so much on my podcast is that finances, it's just like fitness, it's just like nutrition. It's like learning to tap dance. You need to do it consistently, small chunks at a time, and
Mhm.
progress. And as educators, we know you need to have a growth mindset and you need to be patient with yourself. And that's the only way that you'll experience that delayed gratification of those big, juicy goals like home ownership or six figures or whatever it is for you and your
Yeah.
business, right?
Yeah, totally. It's so hard sometimes, especially when you are in the beginning phases of your business and you do want to just skip ahead and you're like, no, I
Mhm.
just want to already be making 5K a month. I just want to already pay for those brand photos and not have the debt, or I just already want to double my salary, whatever it is. It's so hard. But it is those small steps in between that are going to help you eventually get there. It's like building credit. Like you can't just show up one day and have like amazing credit. You need to be building it up over time, and the exact same goes for your credibility, and the exact same goes for your comfort level within business because I don't know, I mean, when I took the leap to quit my teaching job, and I'm wondering if it's the same for you, I was like, "It's fine. I'm fine. I'm gonna make the money," kinda like what you were saying, right? I'm like, "It's gonna be fine. I have a business." But at that point, I had not exercised my muscle in talking about money and being comfortable talking about this is how much I make, this is how much my expenses are, these are my projections for the year ahead. So everyone else in my world didn't understand the full picture of my business. So when I said I'm going to quit teaching and I'm going to do this, for them it was a lot of like, what are you talking about? This is not established enough. Like you don't have the proof. This is not going to work out. This is a huge risk. Whereas I was like, it's not though, because I know these things, but I'm not comfortable talking about them to you, and I'm expecting everyone else to just quietly believe in me. But having those
Mhm.
conversations and getting more comfortable talking about money and seeing money as a tool that's going to come in and out and it's there to help you and it's there to support you is going to be such a game changer in your
See,
life.
for me, it was a little bit different because my mindset was, well, I had been on mat leaves, like 2
Mm,
mat leaves very close together, so and with very short stints back at work. So we were basically living on one salary or on one income, and we continued to do that once I made the move to mortgage brokering, and in my mind, I was like, "Well, I can withstand a lot of, like, pain and suffering. I can just cut back. Well, just cut back and I can shoulder it. That was where I was coming from.
Mm,
So then when it came time to invest in my business and do the really pay for the things that needed to be paid for so I could progress, I had extreme anxiety. It was debilitating. And thankfully, I'm married to a business owner who's been running his own business for 15 years, whose father also runs a business. So he understands. He understands the mindset and he deeply understands the anxiety of not making money. Um, and he said, it'll come. It will
yeah,
come. Use the credit card, make the purchase. You got great credit for what? Right? For
yeah,
what? And I say that sounds kind of flippant when I say it now, and I don't suggest that that's what everybody do. I'm very fortunate that I had a cushion. I had a spouse who was making good money, and some people don't have that privilege. I understand that it's a privilege. And it's important to not say I can take it, but to find solutions to how you can improve it. Because I think that that place was a very dark place that I was sitting in, and it's easy to stay there. It's just like teaching. I was teaching for 10 years and I didn't spend 1 year, I think, that I was really lit up by it, but it was
mm,
easy to stay there.
totally.
And same thing in my business. Once I started investing, it started progressing. And that's
Yeah.
just what it is.
I think once you start, it's almost like for me, it was like addicting because you see when you do smart investments and when you're, intentional about where you're putting your money in your business, and then you get the results from it, and you're like, okay, it's working. This worked. Yes, it was scary at first, and like I had a little bit of a big credit card bill for that month there, but I did make the money to pay it back, and I am growing, and I did learn something, and I did grow, and that's when you're seeing the changes in your business. And I always tell people when people tell me I can't afford coaching right now or whatever it is, I don't push it because I know for a fact if you think you cannot afford it and your focus is going to be on how expensive it is and how much money you need to make, you are going to be so consumed by that that you're not going to get anything out of the coaching because you're going to be so hyper fixated on I need to make enough money to cover coaching. That's not the point. I want you to make so much money that like your coaching fee is nothing to you. We need to be moving past I need to pay for coaching. We need to be making you money that supports your lifestyle, and coaching is part of that, sure. But if you are so focused on the pricing of things, it is pretty much impossible for you to actually make space for the creativity and the sales mindset and everything else that you need to be doing.
I know, and it's just it's a different perspective. I had a guest on the podcast. She's an accountant who works specifically with small businesses and a lot of female-owned small businesses. And she was talking about writing off and people want to have the lowest tax bill possible. And she says, "Well, why don't you switch it to how much profit can I make? How can
Mm,
I make more profit?" Because that is gonna catapult you, and that's gonna open doors to scale, to even scale yourself out of the business if that's something you ever wanna do, right? There's just so many opportunities when you're thinking growth versus lack. And if you're not ready to invest, then maybe what rooms can you get into that are
yeah,
free or low cost? Always, I'm always thinking of opportunities, and I think that it serves me well. And I think, and rather than thinking I can't do it, it's the same thing, right? It's just that growth mindset and that forward movement rather than
mhm.
sitting in the yucky feeling, because there's always something we can do.
Totally. I was just talking about this on Threads. I've been seeing so many I feel like my Threads algorithm is, like, feeding this to me, where I'm seeing so many things where people are just so defeated, and they're like, "No, it doesn't work. Nope, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work for me. I'm not gonna be able to do that. Like, I'm not gonna be able to make more money. This strategy doesn't work. This doesn't work, blah, 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 blah." That's another attitude where you're not gonna get past that. You can't. If you already believe you're already defeated, then what are we gonna do to fix that? There's nothing that I can do. I'm not gonna waste my time.
The flip side is, how about procuring the mindset that you adopt things that are working for other people? I'm
Yeah,
so good at this. I see things that people are doing, and I largely live in the online world, like not with other mortgage brokers. I don't care what they're doing. I'm not them. But
exactly.
I see what people like you are doing. I might take a little bit of your steez. I might take a
Mhm,
little bit of somebody else's and make it me. Why not do that instead of saying that would never work for me? Nah, how
exactly.
boring, right?
Exactly, and you just never know, and when you have these concrete big dreams of what you wanna do, you wanna replace your salary, you wanna buy a bigger house, you wanna pay off your mortgage using your small business, whatever it is, then you need to be occupying space and living in a world where that is a reality. And it's not just like a pipe dream that you don't actually think is gonna happen or you feel silly talking about, you have to make the moves and live that is gonna happen. It's not gonna happen tomorrow, but that's gonna happen for you, and you're gonna take those steps toward making it happen.
And I think it's important to recognize that it won't happen right away.
No.
So, unfortunately, the really difficult part is while your finances are catching up to your dreams or your action that you're already taking, because you can take action and the pay may not come for a while. And you have to hold that vision, hold those forward movements. That is so important. I think that's something that people don't talk about in business. And I talk to a lot of business owners who are like, I feel like I should be here by now.
Mm,
Well, why? Because somebody online said that they can tell you how to make 10K in
yeah,
6 weeks. Like, no, that's or 100K, whatever. I don't know what's the going rate now for inflated
for
promises. I
scams,
don't
yeah.
know, right? So, yeah, I think it's yeah, you definitely need to have patience and see it through because I don't know about you, but I've been in a season of, like, I'm achieving these things that I forgot that I wrote in my journal. Like, I
Yeah,
would write pages and pages of, "I am a successful mortgage agent. I am this. I am this." And I read it the other day, and I'm like, "Well, damn, I am those
you're
things."
like, "Check!"
But you forget, right? Because you're on to the next thing, and I think a lot of business owners are high performing folks who are ready to go on to the next thing all the time, but honor
I
yourself
think
where you
that's
are.
also gendered too, like, because I think that as women, we really, really struggle to not just quickly move on to the next thing and to actually acknowledge the growth and celebrate those milestones. And then we just so quickly move on. And I know my coach is good for that too, where she's like, "Excuse me, ma'am, like you didn't post about this win. Like that is a win. And we need to sit in that for a moment before you already just say, okay, check off the to do list and move on to the next thing." And I see this so often with revenue goals and with client projections and all these things where people are like, "Okay, I did it, but now more." They want more, they want the next thing. It's like 6 months ago, this was the highest achievement you could even imagine for yourself, and now you're here and you're like, "Whatever, not good enough." No, ma'am, like, just
Yeah.
appreciate where you've gotten to for a minute. Doesn't have to be very long, but, like, give yourself that space to be happy about it. I mean, when I was shut down for the first time I tried to get a mortgage when I was moving to Nova Scotia. The first time I tried to get a mortgage and I was planning on buying the house by myself because 'cause I'd only known Dave for, like, 4 months or something, and I was like, "No, this is ridiculous. I will buy the house and, like, you can live in your own apartment and we'll date when I move there." And I thought it would be fine because I had a house in Ottawa, I was moving to Nova Scotia, I had, always had my salary position, but they were like, "You're moving to a new province, you don't have a teaching position lined up, and we don't really care about your small business," even though it was making a good amount of money, and I was like, "No, you don't understand, I'm a French teacher. Like, I'm gonna get a job there, I'm a French teacher." And they were like, "We literally don't care, and your small business, it means nothing to us, there's no guarantee," whatever it is. So, when I had decided, okay, next time I buy a house, I'm not gonna have this experience. I'm gonna show up with my like T4 from my own business, and it's gonna be so great. And so when that happened, I used the same mortgage broker out of like some weird personal thing where I was like, let me show you. And
You
I
went
like,
back.
yeah, I went back and I was like, look at these receipts. It's
Oh
not
my
like actual
gosh.
receipts, but like, and then we got approved. Anyways, the first time, I ended up having to bring Gabe in as another person on the mortgage and this, that, the other. So when I actually got to buy this house, our dream house, using my small business corporation as the proof, it was like that's such a big moment, but I didn't even care because I immediately went into like, we're moving, I'm decorating, all these other things.
Yeah.
I didn't even pause to appreciate how different that is than just 3 years before and how much of an accomplishment that is. And I think that is such a woman thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a man be like, "Guess what?" And he's
Yeah.
doing yeah.
He's like has a shirt that says like I bought this house with my I'm
I'm
like,
not
where's
even
my
gonna get
shirt?
started. My husband makes shirts. Ridiculous. Yes. Yeah.
That's my dream. If I could make a sweatshirt for, like, every occasion, I would do it. Every occasion. I'm here for it. I would have a custom hilarious sweatshirt.
And I sense you have a Cricut too, right?
I did have a Cricut, I got rid of it. I had it for a very short amount of time. I dabbled in, like, I'm gonna make sweatshirts, and then I realized I'm not detail oriented, and I could not be worse matched for a job than having to, like, match up letters and make them centered. Like,
I
not
know, I
my
get it. Yeah, not
not
my
my
jam.
jam.
I wasn't that kind of teacher. No.
Oh, no. I just, like, guess everything. I'm like, "Yeah, that looks centered. That's fine. Just shift it a little." All right, well, let's wrap this up with some departing words of wisdom for anyone out there who does have a small business and who is hoping to get a mortgage or who is hoping, to pay off their mortgage or refinance it, and they're feeling discouraged. They're listening to this and they're feeling overwhelmed about all the things they need to do. What do you say to them to help them realize like it is going to be okay?
The first thing is book a call. Even if you think maybe in 4 years you will be ready to purchase a home, likely if you're planning now, it won't take that long. But book a call because then instead of having a big bad worry, you could have all the cold hard facts.
Mhm.
And then you have a point of contact when you have questions because there is no mortgage professional who's going to say, no, don't book a call with me. Come on. It's a sales, it's a commission job. Like we want to talk to as many people as possible. And in my role, I want to educate as many people as possible. So, and also, if somebody is getting a hold of me very early in the process, then the control freak in me can make sure that the ducks are in a row. So there's
Mhm.
no expensive mistakes that happen because in mortgages, there's always a fix, but it may be very expensive. And that's that, right? So, my best advice is to book a call with a professional that you trust. If it's me, Mariah's going to put all my information in the show notes. If it's not, that's fine. But reach out, and professionals are there to help you, whether it be a
Mhm.
mortgage professional, whether it be a financial advisor, whether it be a credit consult. These people have jobs because they help folks who are in need. So just book the call.
Yeah, I think it's so refreshing to just hear directly from you that you're in it for the long con. You don't care if someone is not going to be ready next week. You're there to help support them through the process and make sure that in 3 years, in 6 months, in 12 months, when they do want to get the ball moving, that they actually can. And you're just saving everyone so much pressure and so much stress by having those just upfront and honest conversations and giving people the space to have success when it's
Mhm.
time. I really love that. So thank you so much for just being such a supportive and welcoming presence, especially for small business owners when things like this do seem so out of reach. They do seem so scary and it's like a different language and it can feel really intimidating to go into these meetings and feel less than or feel uneducated when that's not the case. And just knowing that there's someone on the other end who does genuinely care about you and want you to succeed, whether it's now, whether it's in 4 years, and is gonna help you every step of the way, I think is really, really amazing. So, I will absolutely be linking everything in the show notes for everyone to connect with you. Tell us about your podcast. What's happening?
So I've started a new podcast. We're just finished batching all the episodes. It's called Let's Talk About Money. It will be airing on all podcast platforms as well as locally on TV for your TV Muskoka here in Cottage Country. Perhaps a YouTube channel eventually.
She's a
But
celebrity.
what I do is I talk to financial professionals as well as everyday Canadians about money. And the conversations that I've had have been both surprising and soul filling and very educational. So I hope that everybody will tune into that. And I want to reiterate that all this stuff it's things that they don't teach you in school. So get rid of the shame and just start learning.
Yeah, I think there's more people than we think who are in the exact same boat of that shame and that fear and that curiosity and wanting to learn more, but not even knowing where to start. So, what a great platform and a level of accessibility for everyone to lesson in and, not have to book a potentially scary call with like a tax specialist You can listen to this and then decide for yourself, okay, you know what? I actually do need more information from this type of person. And these are the kinds of questions that they can answer for me, and empower yourself to learn more about roles and about expectations and about all of these things. So I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. I wish I was local to Muskoka so I could watch you on the TV. Highly recommend YouTube because then we can just look at your beautiful smiling face, reassuring us all about our money fears and insecurities and everything. So, the best. Thank you so much for coming. I don't even know what we talked about in this episode. I feel like we need to do another one because we talked about so many different things, and money is one of those things where when you do start talking about it, wow, that's the name of your podcast. Let's talk about money. When you do start talking about it, it just opens up so many other conversations about mindset, about abundance, about the practical things like getting a mortgage, and the practical things about what to invest in and when, and feeling comfortable with that little bit of credit card debt in order to see progress. There are so many conversations that can be had about it, and I mean, I'm sure that's why you started the podcast.
Yeah, girl. I can't keep quiet. I can't help it.
Yeah, and none of us should. So, thank you so much for coming. This has been such a treat. I am going to link everything like we talked about, and I just want to thank you for taking the time out and for leaving beautiful cottage country for a little bit of time to chat with us. And yeah, just wishing you all the best and all these exciting new ventures.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.